Welcome to the Efficientpreneur Show with Ahmed Al-Karemli, where you learn how to build and scale your business profitability online with less time, effort, and cost, so you can enjoy a fulfilling lifestyle.
Okay, hi everyone, AK here, and welcome to the Efficientpreneur Show. Today I have with me a very special guest, Jeff Coins. How are you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing great. Thanks, AK.
Pleasure to have you today. So tell me about your story. How did you move from as an employee working in a nonprofit to a writer?
Well, first of all, I thought I don't get to enjoy the perks of, working for myself often enough. So I'm at the park today. Went for a walk.
Very cool.
Yeah, so it's like the essence of, location independent, right? Yeah. So, what was the question? How did I make that journey? Is that the question?
Yeah. What's your story, and how did you move
Yes.
from being an employee in a nonprofit to a writer?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, I'm a writer. I write books and teach people how to write books and get the attention that their work deserves. I do that through online courses, events, and some online coaching programs. And then I also write my own books. And for years, I wanted to be a writer, and I wasn't doing it. And at the time, I was a marketing director for a nonprofit organization. And the first thing that I did was I started calling myself a writer. And this wasn't something that I necessarily wanted to do, but a friend sort of forced me to do it. He said, what's your dream? And I said, I don't know that I have a dream. And he said, well, I would have thought your dream was to be a writer. And I said, well, I guess I'd like to be a writer someday. And he said, Jeff, you don't have to want to be a writer. You are a writer. You just need to write. And so the next day, I started writing every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning. I started a blog. I published a new blog post on that blog every single day for over 2 years. And I began to grow an audience through that. And while I was doing this, it was just something that was fun for me. But it was something that I'd wanted to do for a long time and never let myself do. And so once I started doing it, it was really exciting and liberating. All the while, I'm managing a marketing team at a nonprofit, and eventually my wife and I decided to start a family, and she got pregnant with our first child, and she wanted to stay home and be a mom for a little while, and we could not afford for her to do that. She was working as well, and so I had this blog, and I had an audience of a few thousand people at this point, and I'd heard people talk about, you can make money, with an audience, with blogging, and I'd never done that before. And so I decided to okay, I'm going to figure out how to monetize this. And so I often say that I wouldn't be an entrepreneur if I didn't first become a father, because becoming a dad and my wife wanting to stay home to raise our son forced me to figure out, well, how can I make, it was just an extra $30,000 a year. How can I make an extra $30,000 a year? And so I wrote and published an ebook that did pretty well. I got a traditionally published book published that same year, and then I launched an online course. Within about 6 months, I made about $150,000 doing that. And at the time, I was working at a nonprofit. I had a salary of about $30,000, and so I basically quintupled my salary in 6 months. And so that was when I realized, this is a thing that I can be doing for a while. And that's how it all started.
What's the difference between a writer and an author?
A writer can be anybody. Anybody writes. An author is somebody who has published a book.
That's only the difference. Just once you publish a book, you are an author.
That's right. Yeah.
It's more prestigious level, higher a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, or just different.
This episode is brought to you by the Efficientpreneur Club. The Efficientpreneur Club is a private and affordable one-on-one business coaching club for business owners and entrepreneurs who want to build and scale their business profitability and performance with less time, effort, and cost, and without risking their freedom. So whether you are still figuring out the right business model, strategy, and pricing, or you need help to improve your funnels, ads, sales, and conversion, then the Efficientpreneur Club is for you. Your business challenges are not going to fix themselves unless you fix them today. And the consequences of not addressing that today is your business profitability and performance will not improve, and your relationships and health will continue to be affected. It's no wonder that building and scaling a business becomes so stressful over time, but it doesn't have to be that way. The Efficientpreneur Club will help you take your business to the next level with a private and affordable one-on-one coaching with me personally, tailored to your unique needs. I will help you clarify your direction, set a strategic action plan, and guide you step by step to build and scale your business efficiently. The Efficientpreneur Club will also provide access to an extensive how-to video library, the most highly recommended tools, and a supportive community of like-minded business owners to help you along the way with feedback, encouragement, and advice. The Efficientpreneur Club is the perfect place to be if you want to maximize your profits, minimize your workload, and scale your freedom and efficiency. So check it out at efficientpreneurclub.com and say bye-bye to generic courses, secretive gurus, and expensive mentors.
A journalist could be somebody who's a writer, and that could be a very prestigious thing, but they haven't published any books, so they wouldn't be an author.
Why most writers are struggling now?
I think it's a mindset issue. This is the greatest time to be a writer. With self-publishing, with so many opportunities, you can make a lot of money as a writer. You can certainly make a living wage if you're willing to do the work and try things out that are uncomfortable. And so I think a lot of writers are struggling today because they're believing an old paradigm for writers, which is that you've got to get picked by a publisher and you've got to be a world-famous author in order for you to make a living off of your writing, when in reality, all you have to do is build an audience, serve that audience, and write what resonates with you that is also going to be helpful or interesting to that audience.
You talk about how people can discover what they are meant to do. So can you clarify that? Like how can they clarify their message and discover what they are meant to do?
Yeah, I think everybody has a calling. Everybody has work that they're meant to do. And I think the best way to answer that is to ask yourself 3 questions. First, what do I love? What do I love doing? What's my passion? Right? That's the first question. What's my passion? Now, passion in and of itself is not enough, but it's a good place to start. We all want to be doing things that we enjoy doing, not things that we hate doing. The second question is, what am I good at? What comes easy to me that doesn't necessarily come easy to other people? In other words, what's my skill? That's the second question. What am I good at? What's my skill? And then the third question is, what do people want? What do people want from me or from other writers? And that's a question of demand. And so if you were to sort of draw like a Venn diagram, it would be passion, skill, and demand. What do I love? What am I good at? And what do people want? And the intersection of those 3 questions is a pretty good indication of what you ought to be doing, because that's going to be life-giving. It's going to be something that you're good at. We all enjoy doing things that we're good at. And it also means you're going to be doing it well. And you're going to be adding value to other people because they want that. It's a perceived need or want that you can be fulfilling.
How to balance that between passion and skill and what people want? Like, you need to make a living and we are talking about writers making a living. So how can you balance that? Maybe you're passionate more about something, but it doesn't make money, So how
Right.
do you make people choose and, prioritize?
So I actually don't start people. A lot of people want to start with passion. They go, I love this thing. How do I make money doing it? And there's lots of things that I love that I'm never going to make money doing. I love guacamole. I love making guacamole. I'm pretty good at it. Nobody's going to pay me to do that. Or at least I'm not.
You're making the best one in the world. That's what you wrote.
That's right. The world's best guacamole. Yeah, but I'm not willing to do whatever I would need to do to become like a guacamole chef, right? And so it's a hobby. And so there's lots of things that you're good at, that you enjoy doing, that are hobbies. And that's fine, but they don't need to turn into a living, a career. Like I'm at the park today because I love going for walks. I go for walks and hikes almost every day. I don't need to be a professional walker. It's just, I don't want to get paid to do it. You don't need to get paid to do everything that you love doing. So I actually recommend that you start with the demand, right? So look around at the world and ask yourself the question, what are people getting paid to do? And obviously you want to narrow it down in some way. So if you want to be a writer, ask yourself, who are the kinds of writers that are getting paid? What are they doing? What kind of writers are they? What kind of writing are they doing? And then you're going to look at the demand for a certain vocation, a certain skill set, and then you have to ask yourself the question, can I get passionate about this? And can I learn to be good at this? Is this a skill that I can learn? So I start with demand, then I figure out, is this something I can be passionate about? And then is this something that I can get good at which point you've got passion, skill, demand. Now you can start with passion, but there's lots of things that you're probably passionate about that people don't want from you. And so I think it's just easier to start with what people want and then figure out the intersection of that with the things that you care about and that you're good at.
My 2 cents about the park, like I'm really amazed how you are relaxed and shooting a video interview in the park without preparation. Like, I would be home for such an interview, but you are so relaxed.
Yeah.
And no one ever have done that on my show, and I salute you for that.
Oh, thanks. I'm honored.
So how to write effectively and how to be authentic, show your voice, find your voice while writing.
Well, I think true authenticity is a myth, right? You and I are wearing clothes today. And so if we were being our true selves, we wouldn't be wearing clothes, right? But like it's just socially appropriate for you and I to, put on a sweater in the morning or whatever. And so when somebody says they're being completely authentic, I never buy that, because the truth is we are different people with different people. So you and I are talking in a certain way that I would talk the same way about these same things to my wife. And that doesn't mean that I'm being inauthentic with you. It just means I'm sharing a different part of myself with you than I am with her. So it is with writing. We all share the most attractive parts of ourselves with other people. And so what's difficult about this is when you're writing, it's often a solitary experience. You're doing it alone. So you're going, well, I've got to find my voice and I've got to be the most authentic version of myself. That's not true. Writing, first and foremost, is communication. Now, if you want to just be authentic, write a journal, keep a diary, write some notes to yourself. But if you want to write something and share it with the world, you need to communicate. You need to understand that on the other side of this blog post, book, whatever, there's an audience. There's somebody who wants to hear what you have to say. And even if you don't know who that person is, you need to imagine who they are and write something that is true to you, but that also connects with them. And so I argue that there's no such thing as good writing. There's only effective writing. And effective writing really comes down to thinking about, who is this for? And what do I want to say to this person? And how am I going to know that they're going to get it? And so typically for me, that means I got to know what I want to say and to whom I'm going to say it. And that's going to change how I say it. And then ultimately, I want to have some way of getting them to act, calling them to action. And it could be like something very practical, like reply to this email, or one of the reasons I put silly things at the ends of my books, like world's best, guacamole connoisseur or whatever, is because I want to know if people actually finish the book. And if they say something like that, I go, oh, I know that they read the book or at least flipped to the last page. And so creating feedback loops in your writing is a way to be more effective by simply putting something in the writing that allows people to give you feedback. It could be a comment on a blog post, it could be a reply on an email, or it could be a review on Amazon. But creating the kind of work that requires people to give you feedback, to you what they're learning, what they're getting out of this, that's how we become more and more effective as writers, is we communicate something that we care about, connect it to someone else, and then try to find a way to hear back from them how they received it.
How did you discover that you are a good writer or you want to be a writer? And did you use any mentors to improve your skill?
I don't know if I'm a good writer. I do know that the things I write resonate with a certain group of people, but they don't resonate with everyone. And I think it's really important that if you're setting out to become a writer, that you understand that your work is not for everyone. This is true for everything, right? The best businesses understand that they're not trying to sell something to everyone. They're trying to sell something to someone. And so I always loved writing. And so I took writing classes in college, and I practiced a lot, and I read a lot. And I think that's a really important part of a writer's education. As Stephen King says, you got to read a lot and write a lot. But beyond that, I didn't know that I was being effective until I started hearing from people. And I didn't start hearing from people until I started putting stuff out there and seeing how it would resonate. And so I really started to gain a lot of confidence as a writer when I started a blog and I started writing about topics that people were resonating with and paying attention to, and they started leaving comments and giving me feedback, and they would say, yeah, this really connects with me, I really get this. And even to this day, I use my blog and social media as tools to get feedback from an audience to see what ideas are resonating and which ideas are not.
How you stay focused on your writing?
I make an appointment every day to write at the same time in the same place every day. And I don't try to stay focused. I just sit down and start writing. And even when it's difficult, some days it's really difficult, some days it's really easy, I try to make that appointment every day. I make the appointment and I meet there and I sit in the chair for an hour and I wait for the words to come. And even if they don't come, I don't get up. And so it's just an act of discipline. It would be like, how do you get into good shape? Well, you go to the gym every day, and even if you just sit there for a week and don't do anything, eventually you're going to get sick of sitting there, and you're going to like start lifting some weights and start moving around. The hardest part of the process is just showing up. And so that's my number one discipline, is to simply show up every day, and then whatever happens after that happens.
What's the routine like? Do you change the locations? Do you have a specific location that you like, specific time for your writing?
Before I had kids, I would get up at the crack of dawn and I would write until my wife got up and my day would start, usually from 5 to 7 a.m. Now that we have kids, sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and, we just got out of the diapers phase. I get up, feed my kids breakfast. I take our son to school. I drop him off and then I go to the nearest coffee shop. I get there as quickly as possible and start writing. And I write for about an hour and that's the routine. Same place, get a cup of coffee, sit down. Same place, same time, every single day. I try to get to it as quickly as possible before all of the distractions of the day assail me.
Do you have a time goal or a words count goal, or how do you plan that?
Yeah, I sit there for an hour, but the goal is 500 words. So if I get the 500 words in 20 minutes, I'll keep writing to finish the hour, but the goal is to just get 500 words done within the hour.
What's your system like what's your strategy? Do you write blog posts and then you combine with the end in mind that it's going to be a book, and then you combine them to be a book, or you plan the book and you structure it and you start writing? What's your system? If you have enjoyed today's episode, I would like to invite you to check out Efficientpreneur.com. The Efficientpreneur Club is the right membership for you if you've been working to grow your business for a while now and things aren't happening as fast as you want. If you are tired of generic courses, secretive gurus, and expensive mentors who charge $2,000 to $5,000 a month, then fob you off onto sub-coaches or connect with you in group coaching calls. If you are already stressed out about your business model, sales, productivity, team, and systems. If you are scrambling in the evenings and on the weekends and you never have time for yourself and your family. Those problems are not going to fix themselves unless you fix them today. Why? Because your business profitability and performance are not going to change unless you do, and your relationships and health will continue to be affected. Building and scaling a business becomes so stressful over time, but it doesn't have to be that way. The Efficientpreneur Club is a private and affordable one-on-one business coaching club for business owners and entrepreneurs who want to build and scale their business profitability and performance with less time, effort, and cost, and without risking their freedom. The Efficientpreneur Club will help you take your business to the next level with a private and affordable individual coaching with me personally. I tailor the program to your unique needs. I will help you clarify your direction, set a strategic action plan, and guide you step by step to build and scale your business efficiently. The Efficientpreneur Club will also provide access to an extensive how-to video library, the most highly recommended tools, and a supportive community of like-minded business owners to help you along the way with feedback, encouragement, and advice. The Efficientpreneur Club is the perfect place to be if you want to maximize your profits, minimize your workload, and scale your freedom and efficiency. So check it out at efficientpreneurclub.com and say bye-bye to generic courses, secretive gurus, and expensive mentors.
My system is I always just start writing whatever is interesting to me, and then I think about where this fits. And once I'm in the middle of a book project, I will sit down and go, okay, I'm going to write chapter 3 today. But more often than not, I'm just sitting down, and whatever ideas have sort of been percolating, I'm always keeping track of ideas. I'll sit down, I'll take an idea out, and I'll write it. I'll write 500 words on it, and then I'll go back and I'll edit something that I wrote from the previous day, and I'll decide, okay, this is a blog post or this belongs in a book. So typically, I just write what's on my mind, and then I decide where it goes. But no, I don't typically blog a bunch and then turn it into a book. When I'm writing a book, I'm writing a book. And when I'm writing a blog post, I'm writing a blog post, because those are very different mediums.
Do you write on Word or a specific software that you use that helps you organize your writing and write better, more effectively?
When I'm writing blog posts, or I'm writing anything before it's like I'm in full-fledged book mode and I've got got a book contract with a publisher, I am writing in a software tool called Bear, Bear, which is for Mac and iOS. I don't know that they have a PC version of it. But when I'm working on a book, I use Scrivener. So those are my two writing tools: Bear for note-taking, shorter form writing, and Scrivener for longer form stuff like a book.
What's your content strategy? Like, what do you do? You wrote the blog post, then what do you do?
I write a blog post. I write one blog post per week. I usually turn it into an audio essay for my blog, for my podcast. And then I take the blog post and I cut it up into a bunch of different pieces. And I turn it into tweets and image quotes. And instead of like creating a bunch of different media for different social platforms, I write one blog post and then I take bits and pieces of it, and I put it in different places. I'll take a section of it and paste it on Facebook. I'll take an image quote and put it on Instagram. I'll take a couple of short tweetable sentences and I'll put those on Twitter. And so I used to do the thing where you try to do all the things in all the places, and that was draining. Now I just write one article per week and then I cut it up and put it in all the different social platforms.
Do you do the cutting yourself or your team help you with that?
In the past, I've used a team. I'm kind of going back to doing a lot of the work myself.
Do you feel it's more effective and more, where to put, like, more focused on, where this fits where?
And I'd rather spend my time creating than spend my time managing a team.
Why do you write on Medium?
I don't write a lot on Medium these days, but in the past when I wrote on Medium, it was a really effective way to take something that I'd already written, republish it, or write something unique to Medium and find a completely different audience. I was finding it was pretty easy to get my content in front of a lot of other people that weren't typically reading my blog, and so it was a great way to find a new audience. And I still think that that's true for Medium. But these days I'm often just republishing something. So it's pretty easy. If I can write something once and share it in a bunch of different outlets, and reach other people doing it, why wouldn't I do that?
So you publish on your, let's say, blog, and then you copy the same content and publish it there, or you just share it to social media platforms?
Yeah, sometimes I'll copy it and paste it and share and publish it on Medium, and then link back to the original post and say this was originally published on my blog.
So you publish it all or part of it, and then you put the link for the complete post?
I publish the whole thing, yeah.
Okay. What's your frequency? Like weekly blog posts? Or?
Yeah, one post per week.
Okay. For the authors, like the system, I read that you talk a lot about this system, that how they can make a living from writing. Like, first, take us through the journey. Like, first they start a blog, they start writing, and then take us through the step-by-step system.
Yeah, I would recommend starting a blog, or at least having an email newsletter list, and then practicing in public. So publishing something new at least once a week, building an email list, getting the email list to at least 1,000 subscribers, and then either monetizing that list through a self-published book or some sort of information product, or continuing to grow the list, say 5,000 people. And then from there, I would start seeking out publishing with a traditional publisher. So if you get to 1,000 subscribers, that's a good time where you can start working on being able to sell something to your email list, start making at least a part-time income off of your writing. But if you want to work with a traditional publisher, you need at least 5,000 to 10,000 email subscribers to get their attention. And from there, you just keep doing it. Keep writing books, keep creating things, and selling them to your audience. The hardest part is writing something that resonates with people, and then building an audience that wants to hear what you have to say. If you can do that, making money is the easy part.
So they started publishing blog posts, they built an audience email list, and maybe they sold some courses or other stuff. Then publishing through, like, what do you recommend? Self-publishing or like traditional publishing?
I recommend everybody start out as a self-published author. It's what I did. It won't preclude you from working with a traditional publisher, and it'll give you a lot of great experience, and you'll be able to keep 70% of the royalties instead of giving away 85% of them to a publisher. Now, I've worked with both publishers, and, traditional publishers, and also self-published, and there's pros and cons of both. But for most people, I recommend starting out with the self-published book because you'll learn a lot through the process.
Later on, like you go with traditional publishers for like distribution and to maybe boost your email list. I don't know if they allow you to add links for people to opt in. But did you sell, let's say, more courses or more coaching out of the published, traditionally published books, or the self-published books?
I think working with a traditional publisher helped because they gave me more money up front. So they give you an advance on your royalties. So they give you money up front to write the books. Instead of if you self-publish a book, you have to spend money to publish the book and hope you make that money back. So it's a little bit riskier. So getting paid up front is good. And then there was they helped with the marketing. There was a marketing budget, and they helped spread the message of those traditionally published books. So that did elevate the awareness of my brand and help me, sell more courses, succeed in other areas. I can't draw a direct correlation between working with a traditional publisher and selling more courses necessarily, but because we were sort of operating on a different level, it allowed everything that I did to grow, for sure.
When you self-published, you focus more on Amazon or other platforms, or what's the percentage between Amazon versus the other platforms?
Whether you self-publish or not, most of your sales, 78% of your sales, are probably going to come from Amazon. And if you're going to self-publish, I would recommend self-publishing on Amazon's self-publishing tool, which is called KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, for the ebook version, the digital version, and then KDP Print, I think is what it's called for the printed version.
I think they combined it recently. Before
they combined it with, it used to be CreateSpace,
Correct. What's your number one strategy that helped you grow your brand? Blogging?
What is my number one strategy? I mean, help people. That's a pretty good strategy, but that's pretty vague. I would say creating resources that were helpful to people and then giving them away for free. And I'll give a couple examples. So the way that I grew my email list quickly was it took me 6 months to get 72 email subscribers. And then I created a lead magnet, a free ebook. It was just a short 900-word digital guide for writers. And I gave that away. In a week, my subscribers went from 72 to 1,000. Then I started giving away other resources, free ebooks and things like that, and it grew several thousand. Then I started doing webinars, free online teachings for people. And every time I do one of those, I'd get a few hundred more subscribers. Then I started guest posting. I would write articles for other friends and link back to my blog and get more subscribers that way. So really, those are different strategies, but they're all kind of the same strategy, which is taking information that you could essentially charge money for, an article, a teaching, a book, giving it away for free in exchange for people to give you their attention and give you their email address. That, more than anything, I think was the fastest way that I grew a personal brand.
What's converting the most for you now? Like webinars, other stuff?
You know, I would have said webinars until recently. I think one of the most effective things to do is a challenge.
What happened recently and webinars stopped working or like less working?
It just seems that there's a lot of people are doing webinars now. And so all of my friends who do webinars are getting fewer, and it's getting harder and harder to get people to sign up for them. So they still work very well. But I think even more effective than a webinar is a challenge. So I've done challenges for years. One simple challenge is called the My 500 Words Challenge, which you can find at my500words.com. And it's just a 31-day challenge to write 500 words per day to start the habit of writing. Every time I do that, thousands of people sign up for it. And it's easy. People like challenges. It'd be a free challenge. People sign up because they want to improve some area of their life. There's a community aspect. There's a skill development aspect. And that's easier than like having to attend a webinar or download an ebook and read it. So all of my challenges have typically been email, where you sign up for a challenge and then you get a series of emails over the course of a week or a couple of months. And people love that sort of thing. So I think challenges work really well.
Um, who helped you with developing your skills to create those challenges?
I think the most effective community that I've ever been a part of is other bloggers and online entrepreneurs, and where we just share what's working with each other, kind of like you and I are doing right now. Yeah, so I mean, I can't think of anybody in particular, but lots of friends of mine just getting together saying, here's what's worked and here's what isn't working as well.
Do you use ads? Do you run ads, or you depend on organic traffic to have the attraction of people?
We have used ads in the past, but I've only ever driven ads to something that will immediately get a return on investment. So I typically haven't driven ads to just content. I do get a lot of organic traffic through search engine optimization.
Okay. Do you have a technical guy working on your SEO, or you just use Yoast or simple stuff to optimize your posts?
Yeah, I've never had a professional SEO work on it. I've been pretty lucky in that, and I know a fair amount about SEO, but not, I'm not an expert. But for 2 years, I wrote an article every single day about writing, and so there were a couple of things that I did that just worked really well, that ranked really well. It was a lot of content, so there are things that didn't work as well. I'm sure I could go back and delete some of those posts, but there's a number of articles that I've written over the years that are number 1, number 2, number 3 on Google for pretty highly searched terms, highly trafficked terms, like how to write a book, and things like that. So yeah, never worked with anybody. And I think SEO seems kind of like mystical, when in reality, you just want to write very clearly about a specific topic and write really well, use a great title, and have other people link to you. And if you do that, over time, you do that over and over and over again, and you write really helpful, interesting articles, they're going to rank pretty well.
What are your top 3 books about writing?
The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott, and then I think On Writing Well by William Zinsser is a really good book. It's a more technical book.
Take us through your daily work and life routine, from the time you wake up until you sleep.
I never know how to answer this question because every day is a little bit different, but I'll walk you through today. Today I got up, took a shower, made breakfast for my son. My wife and daughter got up right after that. I drove my son to school at about 7 a.m., dropped him off, went to the coffee shop. This is about 8 o'clock in the morning. Drank a couple cups of coffee, just sat and journaled for a little while, kind of planned out my day, thought about what I need to get done this week, wrote a little to-do list of 3 big things that I wanted to accomplish today, read for a little bit. Like the first hour or so of the morning is just very slow and intentional for me. I just want to focus because I get up and I rush. I get my son, I make his lunch, I make his breakfast, I drive him to school, we get into traffic, and so it's kind of hectic, and so I just want to chill out for a little bit before work starts. And so from 8 to 9 a.m., I'm just kind of doing that. From 9 to 11 is usually writing time. Then 11 to 1, I'll typically go for a walk. I might do a phone call or interview. And then from 1 to 3 is administrative work. So this is where I'm emailing. I'm kind of doing the boring office work stuff. Sometimes I'll do interviews or something, but a lot of it's just communication with my team, working on the technical stuff. Anything that's not creative typically is reserved in the mornings, and then technical administrative stuff is in the afternoon. Could be like invoices. And then I drive home at around 3:30 in the afternoon. I'm home by 4. I typically make dinner for my family. We eat dinner. My wife and I put the kids to bed. And then she and I have some time together usually. I usually get in like a quick workout before bed. And then I go to bed and start it all over.
Any other hobbies other than writing?
Hobbies: writing, reading, walking, and I love music. And so my wife and I are going to a concert tonight.
Oh, cool. Enjoy it.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
What makes you feel fulfilled?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of think like I already am fulfilled. Like, I don't think something makes me feel fulfilled. I think the most fulfilling realization for me is I don't have to do anything to prove anything to anyone or myself. Like, life is great and I'm free to enjoy it. And so if I had to give an answer, I would say freedom, the ability to do kind of whatever I want to do when I want to do it within, reason, is pretty fulfilling. It's pretty exciting. It's pretty life-giving for me, which is why I'm, doing this interview at a park.
How tell us more about your coaching programs and like one-on-one coaching or the programs. What kind of programs you provide so people can benefit from it?
Sure. Well, the biggest thing that we do right now is for authors or aspiring authors. It's called Write a Bestseller. And we teach people the process. It's a 6-month program, and we walk you through the process of coming up with a big idea, turning it into a book, writing a book over the course of 6 months, and then launching it and selling thousands of copies, hopefully turning it into a best-selling book. And what's unique about this program is we take some of the best-selling books of all time, we reverse engineer them, we pull out the principles that make for a best-selling book, and teach you how to do the same thing with your book idea. Instead of just teaching you how to write any old book, we teach you how to write a great book that has the potential to sell thousands and thousands of copies.
Like, what's other than doing these campaigns for bestsellers? How do you keep marketing and selling your book after that? What do you do now? Do you use any other services for that?
There's some services that I think are helpful. A paid service is BookBub. If you discount your book to 99 cents or $1.99 and use a service like BookBub, you will very easily sell 500 to 1,000 copies in a day doing that. So there's services like that are really useful. But I think the most useful thing you can do as an author is get copies of your book into people's hands and get them to talk about it. So I'm always just giving away copies of my book to people that will leave a review, or they're a blogger, or they're a podcaster, they're willing to talk about it and share it with someone. And so the best marketing for a book is the book itself. And so I would rather pay to have copies of my book distributed to hundreds of people than spend thousands of dollars trying to get hundreds of people to buy the book, if that makes sense. I'd rather use whatever the book costs and get the book in front of people that want to read it and try to get them talking about it than I would spend money trying to get people to buy the book. Because the best marketing for a book, even today, is word of mouth.
Cool. So last question, how people can contact you?
You can find me. I've got a blog, I've got a newsletter, I've got a podcast, but you can find all of that at goinswriter.com, GOINS writer.com.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for the really amazing journey and valuable information. Really appreciate it. Thanks.
My pleasure, AK. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Thanks, everyone, and see you soon with another expert. Thanks for watching or listening. It means the world to me if you would leave an honest review of the show on iTunes or any other podcast platform that you are listening through. And big thanks to all the people who have already reviewed the show.
Discover how to build and scale your business profitability and performance with less time, effort, and cost. Check out Efficientpreneur.com.